Katie Fields is the manager of Partnership for Strong Families SWAG Family Resource Center in Southwest Gainesville. Katie assisted the Southwest Advocacy Group, or SWAG, with the development of the Resource Center in her former position as a crime prevention analyst with the Alachua County Sheriff's Office. Katie has a Master's of Education and an Education Specialist degree in counseling, and is currently completing a Master's in Urban and Regional Planning and a PhD in Counselor Education at the University of Florida. Welcome, Katie.
Thank you.
It's a lot of degrees, Katie. It has been so nice to have been right there at the beginning of the whole SWAG Family Resource Center process and to have seen it grow over the years. But for this interview, why don't we kind of assume that we're talking to folks who maybe are not as familiar with SWAG as you are. So can you take us back? First of all, tell us about the area and tell us about the roots of the SWAG Family Resource Center.
Sure. There have been hundreds of people who have been involved in the development of our resource center, and people have been actively involved in that community for years, maybe decades. People have had community events there and had a sheriff's substation, and that's when I came to the sheriff's office. They still had a substation there. Partners for a Productive Community is made up of community members in that area that just wanted to do great things out there. Joan Canton is the president, and she used to work with Shawn, who was with Alachua County Support Services. And they have the Preservation Enhancement District and all that, and they've done backpacks and Thanksgiving giveaways. So there are wonderful people who have been working in that community for years.
And you know, I should have probably said in advance, this is a big project. So I'm so glad you brought some notes with you. I know you don't want to get any names wrong, and so I encourage you to refer to those notes. Take me back one more step, though. Can you tell folks where this area is?
Yeah, it's in southwest unincorporated Alachua County, just on the other side of the Gainesville city limits in I-75, off of Southwest 20th Avenue, and then as it curves into 24th Avenue, and then Tower Road, and behind Home Depot, off Newberry.
And it surprises people, I think, sometimes. Some people, when they think of Tower Road, they think of Hale Plantation and a very prosperous kind of area. But this is one of the areas. I know the sheriff calls this I believe, the Mike Zone, and it really is an area of concern.
We really benefited from the proximity of Hale Plantation and the wonderful assets that they have and the people there. They're very generous.
Tell me about Dr. Hart. I know in 2008 she became involved in this process.
She really got the fire started for this. She had created some density maps that demonstrated that there were a lot of health disparities, particularly with babies in that area, and that's really what got Dorothy Benson, who ended up being SWAG's first chair, involved. There was an article in the paper about how it had high density of low birth weight babies. There was infant mortality and STDs, and it really got a lot of attention, including Sheriff Darnell's attention. Sheriff Darnell met with Dr. Hart in 2008, and they overlapped their maps. And Sheriff Darnell was like, we got to do something about this. And at that time, I was an intern at the sheriff's office for my urban and regional planning degree, and got to meet Dr. Hart. And Sheriff Darnell just wanted us to do something creative in that area, having a counseling background and then urban and regional planning. It just working with Dr. Hart, who's interested in healthy babies and healthy families. So really was a nice start to this momentum that we've got to create the center.
So that's how you got involved in all this.
Yeah.
Dr. Hart is at UF?
Yes, in the College of Medicine.
Okay. And 2009, the library partnership opened up. Take us through that.
That's really exciting for this community. Partnership for Strong Families partnered with the Alachua County Library District to create a neighborhood resource center that is half library and half resource center. And that is strategically located in a zip code where there were high incidences of child maltreatment, as well as the 32607 zip code where our center is now today. So the 32609 and 32607 were kind of competing for the highest, incidences, and we really needed to do something about that. So Partnership for Strong Families felt like that was a great place to invest. and created this center where it could be a satellite center for existing community resources right where families need it the most, right next door.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned the sheriff had opened a substation. I know that kind of ran into an unfortunate situation there and eventually closed. What was the reasoning for that?
The building was going into foreclosure that the sheriff had been running out of the center out of. So sheriff wanted to do something bigger and better and knew that that wasn't the responsibility of the sheriff's office. So she contacted Shawn Salamida, who's CEO of Partnership for Strong Families, and said, wow, you're doing amazing things with the library partnership. How can we do that in the Southwest area to address the issues in Mike's Zone?
And then I want to make sure I've got the chronology straight. In January of 2010, a couple of very special women got involved, and I guess were these the same folks that kind of pushed the library partnership to begin with?
No, actually they were from the SWAG community.
Right.
Two women from Hale Plantation, Dorothy Benson and Allison Law, had heard about the things that were an issue in Mike's Zone from the newspaper, reached out on their own to mothers in that community, created like a mom's group in late 2009 to help them organize and go to the county commission and say, our substation is closed. What do we do with our kids after school? We want them to be safe. We want them to continue learning. So they helped organize those women, and then they brought them to Millhopper Library in 2010, January, where it kind of like was the perfect storm. The partners who were involved with the library partnership and the women who really cared about Mike's Zone came together, and then in February is when I met them all.
You got recruited, huh?
Yes. And I'm so glad I did. So I got to meet these wonderful women and continue to help facilitate their organization and give them a name and decide what we're going to do with all this passion and commitment to that community.
And then I guess the next milestone was a trip to the county commission. Is that right?
Right, and we had to do a lot of data collection. We wanted to get to know the community and have numbers to back up our plan. So we went door to door in two of the Mike's Zone neighborhoods, two of the, I think, highest need communities, which would be Majestic Oaks and Linton Oaks, and went.
What was the response when you were going door to door?
We actually had an incredible response. We had a pretty long survey because it was a combination of a survey I had done in Majestic Oaks when I first started at the sheriff's office to get to know that area, and the Getting to Know You form that was used at the library partnership to kind of see what services the community could benefit from. And it turns out that, you know, families did want to have a resource center. They did want to have access to existing community resources. They cared about their kids and wanted them to be safe and healthy. So we got about 33% in each of the two neighborhoods, which is almost unheard of in survey research. So it's really exciting to be able to do that, just going door to door and meeting our neighbors.
I remember when you came to that first commission meeting, and it was pretty phenomenal. Can you take us back to that meeting and what the objective was and what the outcome was?
The objective was for the county commission to understand that there was a need there and to kind of adopt the goals that the community had. We didn't know that we would get the amount of funding that we did, which is incredible. We got $225,000 to create a resource center, and that was very exciting. And I think it really validated that what the community was doing was right. It was in the right direction.
Give us some of the details. What did, and I know the county commission was a major donor to this program, but I know you had a lot of cooperation and a lot of donations from others too. But can you tell us a little bit about that whole package? I guess maybe beginning with what was purchased.
Sure, and I want to make sure that I get all these donors right, so I'm going to look at my notes here.
Okay.
So the county commission gave us $225,000 to purchase and renovate a resource center. Well, SWAG is pie in the sky thinkers. They really want to make sure their community is getting everything that they could benefit from. So they worked with county staff to find the best deal that we could in the community, and we were very fortunate to be able to find 2 buildings in the heart of the community where all the neighborhoods could access them that were in foreclosure. So we practically got a 2-for-1 deal with purchasing the buildings, which allowed us to expand and add on a health clinic to our goals. So we had enough money to purchase both buildings, and then we have some funding to work on the renovations for the resource center. And we were going to just let the cards fall into place for the health clinic when that time came. Partnership for Strong Families signed on to manage the resource center once we could get all the donations in place to make that happen, and the health department signed on to manage the health clinic once that came around. So SWAG had to do some additional fundraising to get the resource center renovated and furnished. Dorothy Benson was huge in this, and her connections in the community. We have such generous SWAG members and neighbors in the community that really made cash donations helpful, and then we had materials and service donations from Skinner, Vignola, and McLean Architects. Ulrich Construction donated a lot of time, even after the fact. They helped us renovate our porches on the back of the building, and even after the whole construction was done.
You're not shy about asking for more.
No, you know what? We're just in a really generous community, so fortunate. Watson Construction, Comfort Temp, Teal Tile and Carpet One, CH2M Hill, Restoration Specialists, and United Way. I'm probably forgetting some people.
I know the Rotary Wild Game Feast.
Oh yeah, they were huge, and
yeah.
so is Kiwanis Club. They helped paint the walls inside. But the Rotary Wild Game Feast grant they really made it happen, because without them we wouldn't have the furnishings that we have inside. We were able to have computers for adults and kids to use. We were able to do summer breakfast, lunch, and snack, because we have a refrigerator and a deep freeze and appliances in the kitchen. It's incredible. Everything in our resource center is there because of the Rotary Wild Game Feast.
I think I read about $57,000-ish dollars they donated to the project.
Incredibly generous.
Pretty amazing. And give us the time frame here. So we bought the buildings. You started doing the renovation, and
we finally opened in June 4th of 2012.
2012.
So we've been open about a year now.
Yeah, I remember the groundbreaking when they first started doing the work. Also, I think it's important to say that it was Charlie Jackson and the facilities folks over at the county did a great deal of work too.
Absolutely,
yeah.
And they had to work with our facilities department at partnership and just making it happen as quickly as possible. Really,
the whole story is such a kind of an ideal picture of intergovernmental work, cooperation along with the private sector.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so then I remember when the sledgehammer would knock the door down and we started, and then the ribbon cutting happened pretty soon after that. What was it, about 6 months or so? Or?
I think so. I can't remember. I think our renovation kickoff with Joan and the sledgehammer happened in February of 2012, and then the kickoff led into all the renovations, and we did our grand opening in June.
And do you recall when the first child walked in the door?
I absolutely do. I absolutely do. We were still unpacking toys. And we had all the basics in there, the computers and whatnot. And the Rotary Wild Game Feast grant really allowed us to provide some really nice things to the kids, like educational toys. And I remember having the toys. It was kind of like Christmas in the toddler room, like all these brand new toys. And a mom and her 2 little boys walked in, and they were just like, wow. Is this for us? You know, and I couldn't help but just stand there and stare at them and their excitement, and they were really excited that we were in their community.
Now, how do you, when you're communicating to the folks that live in the area, what is the purpose of the center? How can it assist them? What are the circumstances in which they can bring their kids? How does it work?
Well, we'll serve anybody who can get to our center. We're not just for the community that we're in. We want to strengthen families, provide them with the resources they need to be successful and to accomplish their goals, whatever that looks like for them. So it could be a parent who wants to get their GED so that they can get a better paying job and provide more financial stability for their families. It could be that they have a toddler and they want to learn how they can be their child's first teacher, teaching them ABCs and 1, 2, 3s, or someone that can help their child get tutoring while they're in elementary, middle, or high school. Access to computers is huge for this community. Access to internet and a fax machine and a copy machine. So we really are focused on education and employment. We really feel like that is what's going to make families strong so that they can stand on their own and create stronger community. We want to stabilize families so that they can continue living in that community and don't have to move every so often and remove their kids from one school and put them in another, so that the kids can really get invested in friends and education and focus on what they need to do to be successful.
What are your hours of operation?
They fluctuate. I am a student, so, and I'm basically the only full-time person there that, you know, will lock up and everything. We do have a part-time person now. So right now they're 9 to 5 over the summer, Monday through Thursday, and then a half day, 9 to 12 on Friday. And then we usually do a little bit later once school starts, so we can make sure we get in the after-school tutoring, usually till 6.
And take me through the facility itself. I'm familiar with what it looks like. It was at one time was it a quadruplex?
Yes, it was 4 apartments.
Okay.
Each apartment was about 900 square feet. So we have about 3,100 square feet now.
And what are the different rooms that you have?
Almost half of our building is devoted to kids, so we wanted to make sure that we had spaces for the different age groups. So we have what we call a preschool room for babies through toddlers and up through age 4. And then we have a teen room so that teens can have their books and they have the computer. And then we have an elementary room that has like a blend of the teen room and the toddler room, toys still, but then they have books and computer access. So.
And what are the rules? I mean, you don't just take toddlers in without their parents, right?
Right, yeah, we do not provide childcare. We
Okay.
don't have an after-school program, but we do offer tutoring after school, but parents are aware that their child is at our center and that they need to be available so that their child can go home when they're done. Kids can leave at any time that they need to. So we're not responsible for keeping them in our center,
Right.
but we encourage them to stay throughout the tutoring process.
So they can be there without their parents if they're of a certain age.
Yes.
While they're doing their work.
Yes, if they're 10 and older, they can be there
Okay.
on their own, and then if they're 5 to 9, they need to be there with a big brother or big sister,
Uh-huh.
or enrolled in a program, so that we have somebody that is an adult and one of our volunteers or one of our program providers there with them at all times so that they're supervised. And then 0 to 4-year-olds absolutely have to be with a parent.
And then on the other side, what do you have available for
We
adults?
have a nice conference room, which is an entire apartment that has been opened up, and that's where we have our GED classroom. We also do Zumba in there and have our swag meetings, and it also turns into a cafeteria over the summer when we're feeding kids breakfast, lunch, and a snack.
Huh. And how many people do you see?
Well, we actually count visits.
Okay, visits.
We welcome people to come as many times as they want. We want to know that how many times people are accessing the center, and that's about 900 per month.
So it stays busy, it sounds like.
Very busy. For 3,100 square feet, 1.5 full-time staff, and the rest volunteers. That's very busy. We actually run on volunteer power. We have about 30 different volunteers a month that come in, and about 400 volunteer hours a month.
Are the volunteers people that live in the area, or do you get interns from UF? Or?
We have SWAG board members that
Okay.
volunteer. Joan Canton, SWAG chair, volunteers every single day, all day long. She's incredible, and she's a community member and has been in that community actively for years.
Joan's the one who took the first swing with the sledgehammer, isn't she?
She is. She's got quite an arm.
Yeah.
Definitely. And then others can be student interns from the University of Florida for Santa Fe College. And then just really passionate people in the community. They might be retired or just have skill sets that they want to give back.
And before I leave the facility, didn't you do a lot of work on the outside of the facility as well?
Yes, we have. We painted it ourselves, thanks to United Way's Day of Action. So it's a beautiful yellow color, and then we've done some landscaping out there with the master gardeners. And now what's really exciting is we have Swag Oasis, which is a student organization from the University of Florida. They got an American Medical Association grant to create what we call Swag Oasis. And that's to address the area as a food desert. And they're mostly Masters of Public Health students, and there are some health education and behavior students that are there, and they're very passionate about providing nutritious foods, fruits and vegetables to the families, and helping them understand what are good food choices to have a healthy lifestyle. And they've created a walking group. We have a community garden where we have 4 beds that are open to the community, and then 4 beds that are designated to specific families that are really involved with this program. We do cooking demonstrations and nutrition classes, and they even have health coaches to work with the families who are really passionate about getting on track.
You have a garden right there on that property? Now,
beautiful.
Do you have a playground also?
We do.
Yeah.
We do on the other side of the building.
Oh, okay.
And that lot was donated when the county agreed to give us the funding for the resource center. So it kind of came as a package deal. And then SWAG did a lot of fundraising to get that playground up and running. Tower Hill Insurance Company provided the biggest chunk of the funding for that equipment. And then we got a Lynx grant to pay for one of the adult-size exercise equipment outside. We have an elliptical and a row machine. So the whole playground is about physical fitness and kids building strength while their parents can exercise with them to provide the supervision. It's really exciting.
You know, Katie, we've talked a lot about SWAG. Can you tell us a little bit more about the Partnership for Strong Families? I know they're so involved in this, and for folks who don't know about it, can you describe what that organization does?
Absolutely. It is so exciting to work for Partnership for Strong Families. They're very passionate about kids and keeping them safe. And what's refreshing about them is that they want to invest in the communities where the kids live, not just work with the kids themselves and their families, but also understanding that it's the environment that they're growing up in and the access to resources that can actually prevent the child abuse and neglect to begin with. So they've done a lot of investment in understanding what communities are like and how they can do partnerships with existing community resource centers to stretch the dollar and provide the resources families need to accomplish their goals and have safe, sustainable homes. So the library partnership was the first of those resource centers in 2009. SWAG is the second in 2012. And then just recently, the part-time person that they've hired for our SWAG Family Resource Center will be also part-time at the new Combe Park Library to provide resource center services, just like a mini library partnership. So it'll be mostly library, and then a small portion will be resource center, but just providing resources and services to families in an area 32641 that could really benefit from them. And then we actually hope to move forward and find ways to do this in our other counties. We serve 13 counties in Northeast Florida, and Alachua County is just one of those counties, but it is the largest and the highest concentration of the child maltreatment.
Is that a state organization, or is it a private?
It's a private nonprofit organization, yes. And our resource centers are the prevention component of child welfare. So what's really exciting is KC Family Programs are the partial funders of the library partnership, and they are really invested in keeping children out of foster care because they want to have strong families that can meet the child's needs so that they don't have to go into foster care and go through that trauma. So our community, as in Gainesville, has been selected as a community of hope by KC Family Programs. And what that means is that they recognize our commitment to providing places where children are safe, and that we give the support to the families and the adults that are in those children's lives, not just in the homes, but also in the communities.
You know, the genesis of the SWAG Family Resource Center is like should be a textbook on how to get that kind of facility up and running. All of the different pieces that came together on that are really amazing. Yeah. Now, the second property, which is going to be the health clinic, that's right across the street.
It is. From
the existing one. What's up with that?
I'm told that spring of 2014 is when we hope to have that open. Like I said, the health department has signed on to be the initial starter of that. Paul Myers of the health department has been incredible with helping facilitate this whole thing, and they have a design ready, and they're working with Charlie Jackson to get that going.
What is the goal for that? To just kind of have a satellite?
It'll be like a mini
station.
Health department.
Oh, okay.
Having primary care, family planning, testing, health tests, and then maybe eventually be able to have some vital statistics access there.
Katie, do you have any stories that you can share with us in terms of the actual effect on some of your Resource Center attendees' lives?
Absolutely. We have been so fortunate to see kids pass a spelling test for the very first time and have their parents come in so excited that their child got a 100 on a test. And we're getting A's on report cards and having kids move up to the next grade level that have been previously held back. And we just had 2 women who passed their GED tests after taking their classes at SWAG. Numerous people getting jobs. We have 2 job boards, and Florida Works comes and sees clients at our site. And it's just incredible. You know, the services that we're able to offer there, we have Meridian that sees clients there, and Head Start, Alachua County Social Services comes, and I really feel like what we're doing is working. We see the progress, even in the short amount of time as a year, you know, just with after-school tutoring and encouraging families, you know, that you can do this. We'll help. We have the resources for you, and you can do it.
Tell me about the relationships you've established since you've been working at SWAG. Have you gotten to know the folks that live there?
I feel like I'm part of the community, like just another neighbor. I wave to them when I come to work, and when I leave, it's kind of like the opposite of being a neighbor. But I know their names, you know, I can walk kids home, and if they forget their backpack or their folder at the resource center, I know where they belong, and their families know who I am. I know who is related to each other if I see a brother or sister come in, or their mom or their dad. It's really nice to know the whole family and to know their names and to know where they live, and they're not just a number or, you know, a client. They're people and their families and their neighbors.
You know, it's so nice that there's such a happy ending to that substation having to close.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the impetus, I think, for really digging into this.
Absolutely. You never know, like, when one door closes, which other door is going to open, but
Right.
we just had amazing people who knew that there could be something else, like Sheriff Darnell and Shawn Salamida, who was willing to do this again, you know.
Right. Well, you're doing amazing work out there, and I really appreciate you coming.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.